Hi, and welcome to Northwest Garden Domes. Today we built a 10 by 10 greenhouse, and in a minute we'll show you how we did it. Okay, when you're getting ready to build your greenhouse, one of the first things that you want to do is site preparation. For the purposes of this video, we haven't really done any except find a fairly level piece of ground. We haven't removed any of the vegetation or anything, but those are things that you need to consider. When you're building a small greenhouse, you can level it using just a regular construction level on top of a piece of your base frame, and then just check it all the way around, make sure it's level, make sure it's ready to go. And if you're building a larger greenhouse, it'll be important to use something like a contractor would use, like a laser level or a transit type level, and it'll save you a lot of headache and a lot of work once you get started to make sure that your site is level. All right, for your 10 by 10 base frame, we've got 3 10-foot long pieces of 2 by 6 pressure treated, and we've got 3 2 by 4 10-foot long pressure treated as well. And what we do, a simple way to make sure that your greenhouse is going to be square, is by connecting all these 2 by 6s together with a 2 by 4 at the base on the bottom, on the back and the front. As long as your ends are cut square, once you screw it together, your greenhouse is going to be square. We use a treated decking screw, and we use a Torx head screw. I've tried the Phillips and I've tried the square head. Torx head gives me the least resistance, and it works the best. You don't have to fight them as much. So here on the back, we've got our 2 by 6 up on edge. We've got 2 by 4 laying flat, and we make sure that they're flush on the ends and flush on the bottom. As long as they're flush on the ends and on the bottom, we can screw them together. Okay. All right, let me just check it underneath. Check it underneath with my fingers. It's going together just like we want. Up just a little bit. Okay. It's important when you get started to put a tape measure on here. Just because you buy a 10-foot 2 by 6 doesn't mean it's always going to be exactly 10 feet. So we make sure that they're all 10 feet. And then we can put them together. They're all coming out nice and flush. Take our next 2 by 6. It's going to go down the length of our greenhouse here. And we'll attach it to the back. Make sure it's all flush on the bottom and on the back. This joint right here is what's going to make sure that everything's square. All right, so we got that side. Go do this side. Make sure your board's not out real hard at an angle, otherwise it could snap a screw or something. All right, that's the back of our base frame. Now we're gonna take our 2x4s on the front and do the same thing. Screws. All right, let's grab our next board. There we go. Yeah, grab the hammer and we'll tap it in tight here. Maybe we'll flip it over, make for a nicer look on the front of the greenhouse. There we go. If you have a board along the length of the greenhouse here, and say it's a little bit warped, this one here was a little bit warped, but the screw pulled it in nice and tight like I wanted it to. If that wasn't the case, if it didn't want to pull it in nice and tight, you could take a large pair of channel locks or a pipe wrench and fit it over your board, put some leverage on it, and you could bend it down and then put your screw in and it'll hold it. It'll bring that joint up nice and tight for you. All right, we're almost done with our base frame. Now, one thing to take a special note of is here on the ends, I did not run the end wall framing or the end base frame here, this piece, out on the end of the side base frame material of the 2x6. And that's important to save you material when you start putting up your hoops and stuff. If you were to put it out here, it would end up being a full 10 foot long on the inside, and your conduit won't always be long enough. So by doing it this way, it's actually a total of 3 inches shorter, 1.5 inches shorter up front here and 1.5 inches shorter in the back. And then that way you got plenty of conduit for your center purlin. We'll show that again later when we put it up. Okay, on the front base frame here, we have our 2x4 laying flat, and we have a 2x4 on edge, and they're not connected except on each end at this point. So we're going to put a few screws going down from the side into this, and we're not going to put any screws right near the middle because this piece is going to get cut out when we install the door. So we'll go ahead and put a couple screws in here to hold it. Come over here, put one on this side. throw me one more screw if you would. All right. I'll put another one right here. There we go. Now it's all joined together as one piece. I'll do the same on the back. It's the same design, but on the back, the way they're joined together, you can just screw it through the face. Our next step will be to install some hoops. All right, we've got our two hoop halves. We're going to join them together in the middle. Just put a self-tapping screw into there to hold that. On your end wall hoops, it's important to make sure that your self-tapping screw is pointed in to the middle of the greenhouse from each end, okay? This hoop is going to go on our front here where the door is going to end up being. And so we want the screw head pointing to the inside. We don't want it pointed to the outside because the plastic's going to come out there and we don't want it rubbing on the plastic. So grab that. All right, so we got our first hoop. We're going to drill some holes and bolt it up. When you're framing your greenhouse this way, just on these little greenhouses, the 10 by 10 in particular, in order for your plastic to work, in order for your 20-foot wide plastic to go up and over to be long enough, you have to do one of two things. You either have to cut 1.5 inches off of the end of each tube, or you have to cut out the 2x4 here in the corner. What we've done is we've cut off 1.5 inches on each side so that it lowers the overall hoop height 1.5 inches, and then it will be even with the rest of our hoops on the greenhouse. So we've got a good quality 5/16 drill bit. Put that into our drill. Make sure the hoop's nice and tight into the corner. Make sure that the hoop is pretty much straight up and down. Doesn't have to be perfect, but should be close. Oh, lost our bit. All right. So we're using 1/4 inch carriage bolts. Three 3.5 inches long. Put the first one on there. Just tighten it hand tight for now, and then we'll drill our next hole. There it is. Put a washer on it and the nut. And then to tighten them down, I like to use 10 millimeters, what works good. Socket on the end of my drill. It's easy with these drills to go too tight. You'll know you went too tight when you hear a big snap and the bolt's broke and have to put another one in there. You can also start to see the conduit crush. You start squeezing it too tight. You don't need to make it that tight. Just snug works real good. And we'll go to the other side. Tighten this bottom one up. That'll help hold it when we drill the top one. Got a washer on the inside and a nut. Just tighten it up. You can tell when you're getting tight enough, it'll start sucking it into the wood a little bit too. So I have my finger on there. I can feel it start going in. I know it's good. There's our first hoop. We'll put up the next three. Typically we don't put the hoops more than 4 feet apart on any of the greenhouses that are built out of the chain link fence top rail. Now if you're in the south, you don't get any snow, you don't get any significant load on there, you might be able to go farther, but really 4 feet works perfect. So here it's going to be a little closer than every 4 feet. We'll put up the next 3 hoops and move on to the next step. We've got our first hoop up. We made sure that the screw was pointed to the inside, and we trimmed off 1.5 inches off the end of the hoops. And that 1.5 inches again is for the thickness of the 2x4 so that all the hoops end up being the same size. We've pre-drilled some holes to make this go along a little faster for the video. Oh, we almost dropped the hoop. On your 10x10, your hoops are going to go every 40 inches. So we've measured 40 inches. We've made a mark. Line up our hoops. The hoop is going to be flush with the bottom of the 2x6 base frame. Them up. Snug those up. Done the same thing on this side. We made a mark at 40 inches. All right, and then we're going to put on the end wall hoop. Okay, we're going to put up the last hoop. And the last hoop is just like the first. It's cut 1.5 inches off of the bottom of each piece that make up the hoop. And then we make sure that the screw is pointed to the inside of the greenhouse so it doesn't rub on the plastic. If it doesn't quite line up, you can just run the drill back through there and make sure everything's cleaned out. All right, we've got 4 hoops up. The next step that we'll do is we'll put on our end wall braces to strengthen the greenhouse from end to end. That will help with wind bracing and overall support back and forth of the greenhouse. So we'll go ahead and put those on. All right, on a small greenhouse like this one here, you can make your end wall bracing out of a piece of 3/4 inch electrical conduit. That's what we have here. I've taken and I've flattened one end of the conduit and drilled a 5/16 inch hole through it. And then the other end has just been cut off at 5 feet. So you can buy this, comes in 10-foot lengths, just cut them in half. They'll work great for your end wall braces on a smaller greenhouse. So what we'll do is we'll take this screw off, this nut off of this bottom bolt on the second hoop. Oop. There we go. We'll slide the end wall brace over the nut, over the bolt, I should say. Put that back on there. And we'll tighten it up pretty snug. Then we'll bring it up here and we'll secure it to our end wall hoop with a pipe strap. All right. All right. Now what we need to do is take a measurement and make sure that all of these are going to be the same. So, got my tape measure. Go ahead and do the back one real quick. It's been put on before, so then we'll know that it's the right height. Removed the nut on the bottom bolt there, slid the end brace on. This end wall brace has been put on this end once before, so the holes are already there. I'm just lining them back up. Oh, you gotta be careful that the strap doesn't twist away on you. The important thing when you're putting these braces on is to have somebody, either if they're good at eyeballing it, eyeball and make sure that your hoop is nice and straight, because once you put this on, it's not going to move. The nice part about doing it this way with a strap is that it's somewhat adjustable. Do the first two through the holes that are in the strap, and then when you've got it lined up right where you want it, you can slide it up and down on your tube a little bit there. When you've got it right where you want it, we'll make a little adjustment here. There we go. In order to lock in the end wall brace, we put a screw right through the strap. And that locks that end wall brace. It can't slide in and out of the strap. It can't slide through it anymore. It's locked on there. So, we'll take a measurement off of this one. Make sure that our front one's going to be the same height, 31.5. It's going to be important here pretty soon. So I'm going to measure again from the top of the board. You got to be sure that you don't get mixed up, because you got a 2x4 here and a 2x6 there. It's a little bit shorter. And on the back we've got 2x6, so we'll measure off the top of that. Maddie, you want to hold the tape for me? Down here at the bottom? Yep, there we go, thank you. And we'll make a mark at 31.5. Perfect, thank you. Really helps if your bits on your drills have magnets in them. Mine used to. They don't anymore. About time for some new ones. Okay, so when we put this strap on, the bottom of the strap, you don't want it way out in the front of the greenhouse, because your plastic's going to be there. You don't want it rubbing. So it's going to go about in the middle of the hoop. Okay. Right about. There we go. There we go. So the bottom one's going in the middle of the hoop. The other one's going to wrap around the other side. It's going to kind of go in the side of the hoop. And again, we want to watch this and make sure it's not pushing. How's it look, Trace? As long as I don't cinch them down tight, I'll show you here how it can adjust there, right where we need it. Tighten that up. And then we put again, we're going to put a screw through the middle of the strap. Lock it in place. We'll take a hacksaw or a reciprocating saw and we'll cut this extra off, and we'll take our grinder and grind that back nice and smooth. Make sure it's plenty back from the front of the hoop. All right, we'll put our other end wall braces on here. You want to tighten it up? You bet. Go ahead. No, the bottom one. That one's tight. There you go. That's good. Perfect. Thank you. Make our measurement. Hold the tape, honey. 31.5. There we go. Oh, mercy sakes. I gotta flip this over, Maddie. There we go. There we go. Perfect. Tighten them all down. Good. One more to go.
Okay, we're running again.
Okay. Ouch. There we go. All right, end wall braces are on. What we'll do next is we'll run our purlin rod down the middle, support the hoops up at the top. We're gonna put the purlin rod up now, and we're gonna measure from the inside of the 2x6 on that side to the middle of the greenhouse, and make a mark right at 5 feet on the front, and we'll make one on the back. Measure it from the same place. Yep. Make a mark at 5 feet. All right, thank you. And for our purlin rod, we're going to use a piece of 1-inch electrical conduit and some more pipe straps. It's a crude plumb bob here to find the center of the hoop, but it works just fine. So what we'll do is we'll hold this down. We'll let the string hang down until it comes to rest right above the mark we made. Once it comes to rest and it looks fairly close, we'll make a mark up here on top of the hoop on the side there. And we'll do the same on the other end. We got a little bit of a breeze we're dealing with here, but Maddie's helping to steady it there. Does it look good, Maddie? All right, so it looks good. We'll make a mark up here on the hoop, and that's how we'll know where it is. Now this part is where it's crucial that your greenhouse is sitting level. If it's not sitting level, your plumb bob's gonna hang off to the side and your purling won't end up in the middle. Just center the strap over the mark we made. And sometimes they kind of twist on you. You might end up wanting to put a different one in there. Do we have another one, honey? This one didn't turn out good. If you want a heavier duty piece of conduit and a heavier duty strap, they have what's called rigid pipe, and it's a little bit thicker, and the strap is a little bit heavier duty too. These work the majority of the time. There we go. That's gonna work good this time. All right, let's put that in there. Tighten that up. And then on each end, we'll do the same that we did on the end wall braces. We'll put a screw right through the middle of the strap. But before we do that, we want to make sure that the piece of conduit is not sticking out. There we go. Again, because of the plastic's going to be there, we don't want to damage the plastic. All right, let's go to the other end here. Tricky. Oh, don't move it. Pre-drilled my hole there with the self-tapping screw, and then I'll hold the strap up there. There we go. All right. Got another screw? Got a screw, Manny? Thank you. Cut the hammer and give it a tap. Tap it on there. There we go, and it's on. Once you got it on each end, you can put them in the middle. There we go. There we go. Perfect. Great. All right, our purling rod's on, connecting all the hoops together. Next, we're gonna frame the end walls. Okay, we're gonna frame in the end walls, and we're gonna start on the door end. Using the same mark that we made right in the middle of the greenhouse a moment ago for the purling rod, we're gonna measure back from center 16 3/4 inches. And we're gonna make a mark. And we're gonna do the same thing the other way and make a mark. And that will give us, from one side to the other, 33.5 inches. Okay, give us 33.5 inch opening. The reason we're cutting that is we're using a door, a store-bought screen door that is 32 by 80. You can find them at the big box stores. You'll see when we put it in, it's a nice door. So what we're going to do now is we're going to cut this out of the middle of the frame here in the front and frame up the supports on each side of the door. All right, we're working on framing the door now, and we measured our opening of the door 33.5 inches, and we cut the 2x4, removed that piece, And we're gonna frame up each side of the door now with some 2x3s. And so what we're gonna do now, the easiest way to install one of these store-bought storm doors or screen doors is what we're about to show you here. We're gonna make a mark now. We're gonna measure off of the end here 1 inch. We're gonna make a mark. We're gonna do that over here as well on each side. This piece that you see is just resting there. So, to show you what we've already done with this smaller board, how we line it up and measure it and cut it, we're going to use this board. So, we've got the bottom of the board on our mark at 1 inch. We're going to run it up past the hoop. We're going to take our level. You gotta move your fingers out of the way there, honey. Oop. There we go. And we're going to level it up. And we're going to make a mark just slightly up underneath the hoop a little bit, so we know the shape of the hoop. We'll take this piece now and we'll cut it off and we'll fit it in there. And then we'll put a screw down through the top of the hoop into the board. And I'll show you how we do that on these pieces over here. With the board in the right position, all trimmed off, I've made a mark on each side of where the board needs to be when I screw it in. So that the screw is going to be recessed down in a little bit. I'm going to take my hammer and I'm going to dent the top of the board. Excuse me, the top of the hoop. It doesn't have to be dented much, but just make a nice little dent in there. I made my mark so that I can line the board back up. Then I'm going to drill down through the top into the board and put a screw in there. So I'll flush the front of the board up with the front of the hoop, let it stick out of the back on the inside of the greenhouse. Just drill through the hoop. Don't drill down into the board very far at all if you can help it. Take the same type of screw that you used on the base frame. Screw it down through the top. Line up the board down here on the bottom. Screw it into the base frame. Another screw. I usually put one screw in through the back and then I put one in through the front. And that'll be enough to hold it. Got it lined up with our mark at 1 inch out here. Screw it in the back and in the front. And we'll go up on top again and put a dent in it. Honey, can you pull down on the hoop a little bit? Yeah, pull down on it. There we go. I'll make a dent in it here. All right. Drill down through. Make sure it's flush with the front of the hoop or a little bit to the inside. Put your screw down through there. This will be for each side of the door frame. We'll put a header across there. And double check a couple measurements here. Yep. Okay, now we're going to put this header in once we put the door on. We're not going to put the door on until after we've put the plastic on. So the header was going to come after the plastic's on the front. That way we can adjust the height to match the door just right. We'll go ahead and put the end wall framing in the other end. Using the exact same methods, what we do is if there's going to be a vent in the other end, say there's going to be a 20-inch wide vent louver in the other end, we'll measure out 10¼ inches from the middle going each way and then frame up 2 boards just like what we've done here. That'll give us a 1/2 inch of space around the vent so that it slides right in there and we can screw it on nicely. Go ahead and bring that piece around. We've got one that we've already used that's already made up. Okay, you want to steady it right there? Perfect. Got our end wall framed here. We've got a small vent that's going in here, just a 12-inch vent that will fit nicely in there. Helps support, all this framing on each end helps support the end wall hoops, makes them extra strong. So basically our end walls are framed now. What we're going to do on this house, on this greenhouse, is we're going to do one side of the greenhouse is going to have a roll-up side. So we're going to put in a mid frame on each side. That'll be what we'll show you next here. And then we're going to put a roll-up side on one side to show you how that works and how to install that for ventilation. We'll show you that next. All right, now we're going to run what I call a mid frame 2x4, the full length of the greenhouse. And this is only necessary when you're going to do the roll-up sides. So I just run the 2x4 basically right on top of the end wall braces, line it up, and punch a hole through the hoop. And through the 2x4. Perfect. Okay, I'm using the same bolts that we used to bolt the hoops up earlier. All right. We did the same thing on all the other hoops. Just like the end wall braces, what we've already done here is we've taken and sanded the ends of the boards nice and smooth and recessed them back behind the outer edge of the hoop so that they don't rub on the plastic. And the tool that I use to do that is an angle head grinder, but they have a sanding disc. It's like a 80 grit sanding disc and works really well for cleaning up and smoothing off these ends. We'll go ahead and tighten these bolts up here. All right, we're going to do the same thing on the other side.
Okay.
All right, put a bolt through this side here. Line it up a little bit. There we go. Tighten these up. All right, we'll need some long screws, same as what we built the frame with. And then what we do is we measure between each hoop and cut a filler to go in between them. What this does is it brings it out flush or beyond the edge of the hoop. All right, put these fillers in here. Yep. All right, so we've got our fillers in here now. And that's gonna serve as a framework to install the wiggle wire poly lock channels for the roll-up sides. We'll do the same on the other side of the greenhouse and should be ready to install the plastic after that. All right, our mid frame is complete. Next step is going to be to install the poly lock or wire lock channels all around the greenhouse and on each hoop to hold the plastic on. All right, this is a piece of wire lock or poly lock channel. You've heard me mention it. This is what holds the plastic on the greenhouse. And it comes in a 12-foot long stick. Sometimes they're cut in half, so it could be 6 or 12. And what we're going to do now is we're going to run this piece of channel, even though it's straight, right up and over the hoop. We're going to start by putting a couple screws in it, and then we're just going to bend it right up and over. Using some self-tapping screws again. Put one in it, roughly 16 inches or so. Put another one. Okay. All right, got our first piece on. Get some of the little particles out of there. What we'll have to do next is take a measurement and measure from here down to our base frame so we can cut our next piece. Try to keep it up on the hoop here. Take a measurement. Then you can cut your next piece to fit. We've already got one cut. Okay. And we'll just start at the bottom again and go up till it meets the other piece. All right, we've got our wire lock or wiggle wire channels attached to the front hoop. We'll go ahead and attach them now on the back hoop, and then we'll attach them along the back base frame and along the front here and the sides as well. Again. Watch your hand. Oops. Perfect. All right. All right, we've just finished wrapping the base frame with our wire lock channels using a heavy wood screw that comes with the wire lock channels. Now we're going to install our wire lock here on the mid frame for our roll up sides for ventilation. hold that in for me? Is it fitting in there? Good. All right, so this is going to hold the plastic, and then our roll up side will be down at the bottom, and we'll have a piece of conduit down there with a piece of this wire lock on it to roll the plastic up and down on. Before we do that, I think we're ready to go ahead and put the plastic on the ends. Whenever you have roll up sides, like what we're going to do here, you want to put the plastic on the ends first. Then put the plastic over the main body, and I think we're ready to do that now. All right, just prior to putting the plastic on here, we need to fit the door in the frame and adjust the header. And what we've done here, this is our storm door. When you buy this, the hinge side is too long. And so we've lined it up with the bottom of the door, leaving about 1/4 of an inch sticking out beyond the bottom of the door. And then it ran too long, so we trimmed it off up there. And we've attached the hinges to the door with the screws that they provided. So now we'll put it into the frame and make sure it's going to line up and that it's going to work right for us, and make any adjustments to the header, slide it up or down if we need to, and then we'll screw the header into place. But before we put the plastic on, we don't want to permanently mount the door. Just attaching the header with these nailing plates and a few screws. And that'll hold it in place. All right, if you bought a kit from us, or if you bought 20-foot wide plastic, which is what you'll need to cover this greenhouse, it'll come folded. And if you unfold it, what we give in a kit for a 10-foot wide greenhouse is 12 feet wide. We give you some extra. You unfold it until you find the seam that's right in the middle. Okay? So once we've found the seam of the middle here, we'll cut it in half, and this will become the plastic for each end wall. You just use a pair of scissors and just run down the middle of it here. It doesn't have to be perfect, there's plenty extra. Okay. Maddie, you want to pull down on that side over there? Yeah, just pull it down to the bottom. I'll kind of hold it up here in the middle. It looks good, huh? Got plenty over there. This is one of the 6-foot wires that holds the plastic into the wire lock channel. Am I good to start? Yeah. Okay. I'll just start in the middle here. And one of the reasons why this is called wiggle wire is you just wiggle it back and forth down into the channel. I generally don't go too far on the first wire. I don't put too much of it in. I like to just work it down and in. I like to leave the ends out because I might need to pull some of it back out and readjust the plastic. I'm going to pull some of it out and pull it a little tighter. Make some adjustments. You never think there's much of a breeze until you start trying to put this plastic on, and then the breeze shows up. Even if it's real slight, it can test your patience. There we go. It's looking better. Yeah, keep coming with the wire, please. And we're leaving the ends of the wire sticking out in case we need to fine tune the plastic, make any adjustments. Like these wrinkles right here, I can just back the wire out a little bit, give it another pull, tighten it up. Pull down there. Pull too hard, making wrinkles there. Okay, we're making progress. You have the wire cutters. You'll need a strong pair of fencing type pliers for cutting fencing. When the wire's a little too long, you need to trim it with a pair of something like this. I don't recommend measuring how long the channel is and cutting your wire to that length, because as you put the wire in, it becomes longer. Just start with a long wire, put it in, and then when you get close to the end, you can cut it off where you need it. Just right. Got our front plastic in, and we can trim off the excess. Once you've got it nice and tight and you like the appearance and that it's fitting well, you can tuck in the ends of the wires. Make sure that you do that before you put the plastic over the main body of the greenhouse. If you don't, I've learned the hard way, it'll poke holes in there real easily. So check your wires. Make sure they're down in there all the way. Then you can trim off the excess. While we're here on this end, why don't we go ahead and install the door, trim this out, show you how that works. I just take a knife, razor knife, poke a hole in each corner, open up the doorway, basically unzip it right down the front, and then hold it temporarily. I staple it along the frame. Same thing over here. Pull it tight, make sure it looks good and it's tight on there. Now let's see here, grab a hold of that. Trim off some extra here so we can see what we're doing. Go ahead and staple this other side. There we go. All right, now we're ready to install the door. Make a couple more cuts here. All right. We'll grab the door and put it in. When you put the door up, you want to hold it up tight against the frame on the hinge side. Put your screws in there and make sure it's still working. We'll grab our other pieces of trim. Oh, thank you, honey. Mm-hmm. Maybe just put one screw in it and then check it. Looks good. And we got a top piece of trim as well. Oh, Maddie's got it. Thank you, Maddie. Yep. I'll hold this for a second. There we go. Check it out. Everything fits nice. Now that we've got it on there, you can use the door trim as a type of straight edge to trim your plastic. Makes for a nice clean look on the inside. All right. And the doors come with instructions and a template for drilling 3 holes through the door. You can put them basically anywhere in this area, and you can attach the handle. Do you have the handle? We'll put that on real quick. On the inside, it's got a latch that you'll screw into the door frame. I've never had any of these have enough shims. They come with 2 shims, and it's 1 shim short. So I take a little piece of metal and I fit it in there. Let's put this together real quick so that the door will stay shut. There we go. Okay. If all goes well, it'll line up with the latch. Okay, we're just gonna put the other end on now, just the same as we put on the front. We'll start a wire up in the middle here. Turkey. All right, we've got the other end on, and it looks pretty good. We'll tuck in our wires here, make sure that they're not sticking out, and we'll trim off the excess. Now we're ready to put on the main body of plastic right up and over. And what will happen is we'll have another layer of wire going over top of the first, holding on the next sheet of plastic. So it's helpful to push these in, the wires, push them down in, so that the second layer will go in a little easier. All right, I'll just pull it up and over the top. Thank you. Let's check our other end. What we want to check now, because there isn't a whole lot of extra plastic going up and over, so we want to check and make sure we've got enough on each side and from corner to corner. I think that's good. On this side of the greenhouse, I didn't run any wiggle wire at the mid frame so that I could show you if you don't want a roll up side, what you do. You just run the wiggle wire along the bottom right here on top of the base frame and attach the plastic with your wires right at the base frame. On the other side, we'll show you the roll up side, and it'll be slightly different. A little slack.
More wires, maybe?
Okay. All right, now we'll run the wiggle wire along the bottom, button this side up, but first we'll need the wire cutters. Trim this piece of wire off. There we go, okay. Got a wire for me. Perfect. Perfect. A little bit slack. There we go. All right, for our roll up sides, what we've got is a piece of chain link fence top rail, same stuff the hoops are made out of. 1 3/8 diameter, 10.5 feet long. Works perfect for a 10-foot long greenhouse for your roll up side. And what we've done is we've attached a piece of wire lock channel to the top of it. And all we're gonna do is set it down here. We're going to line up the piece of wiggle wire so it's even with the ends of the hoops. Okay. With that held on there, we'll start attaching some wires. All right. Got the plastic attached to the wire lock there. I'm going to go ahead and trim this plastic off so it's about even with the end of the tubing. Trim off the other end real quick. All right, this is our handle for the roll-up side. It's got a U-joint built into it. And what I do is I just lay it out so that the handle's flat on the ground. And it's made, in case I didn't show you, that it's got the swedged end here built into it. It's going to slide right into your piece of top rail. You'll want to lay your top rail out so that the swedged end is away from the end where your handle's going to be. Just lay it flat on the ground. Use another self-tapping screw. Perfect. Now, instead of having to use a fan, if you don't have electricity where your greenhouse is, it's pretty simple. Way to just roll up the side, twist the U-joint so that the handle locks in place, and it'll hold it open. During the day for you, and then in the evening you can just roll it back down. Take your handle, rest it right there on the side of the greenhouse, and what we don't have attached on here yet are some little pieces of 2x4 cleat that will hold it up against. We'll put one in line with every hoop on this greenhouse here. That way when it's down, if there's a gust of wind or something, it's going to hold it right up against the greenhouse, and it'll keep it from wanting to blow out like this here. And just a real simple way. You don't even have to roll it up all the way. You can just roll it up part way, twist the U-joint, put the handle down. It's a great way to ventilate the greenhouse. Typically, if we put these on, we put them on both sides. All right, so we'll go ahead and install the vent. Same way we did the door. We'll just cut a little X from corner to corner here. Take our staple gun. Put our vent in there. Put in a few screws to hold it in place. Oops. You want to be careful. If you slip like that, you can poke a hole right in your plastic that you just finished putting on. So it pays to slow down and take your time so you don't slip. There you go. Now, these louvers are designed for commercial greenhouses. They're a well-made louver, and they're actually designed to have a motor to open and close them on a thermostat. And if you were going to have a motorized louver on a thermostat, you'd actually install this louver from the inside out, opposite of the way we just did it, so that your motor would hang on the inside and open this louver up. If you're not going to have a motorized louver, it's not a big deal. It doesn't matter which way you install it. All you need to do is cut a little block of wood and stick it in here to hold it open when you want it open. You can also take, I've taken a piece of wire before and made a little hook that hooks it down to a screw to hold it open, and I just hook and unhook it as I need to. But they're a great louver, come in all different sizes, and they're easy to install. All right, it's important that you secure your greenhouse so that if the wind comes up, it doesn't take it away from you. And if you bought a kit from us that you're putting together, it came with some 1 5/8" tubing with 2 holes pre-drilled in it for staking the greenhouse down. Depending on your soil type, you may be able to just place your stake right alongside your base frame on the outside and drive it down in. And if you're not in an area of high wind, that might be okay to do. But if your greenhouse is larger, or if you're in an area of high wind, you'll want to cement these into the ground. So these are 2 feet long. Dig a hole right next to your base frame, put your stake down in right alongside, line up the hole so that the bolts you're going to use will go through your base frame, and cement in each stake. And once the cement's hard, you can cover the hole up, and that'll make sure that your greenhouse is secured and it's not going to blow away. Outside, currently it's about 50 degrees with a little breeze, and inside we're about 82 degrees inside our greenhouse right now. So you can see the benefit to having a greenhouse and how this could extend your growing season significantly. Thank you for watching our video today. We hope that it was helpful. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to visit our website at northwestgardendomes.com. And if there's something that you need that you don't see on there, feel free to give us a call. We'll be glad to help you out.